Hello, everyone, and welcome to the check-in. Sarah, my friend, how are you?
Yeah, really good, Leo. I can't believe I get to see you tomorrow in person, live.
It's about
I think
time,
it'll be
isn't it?
like, what, the third time we've actually seen each other in person, which sounds crazy.
Yeah. She always says I'm taller than she thinks I'm going to be, which I don't know what that says about me, actually. But there we go. We
Yeah.
can think about that, can't we? Taller than I remember. Today, we're delighted to be joined by two industry superstars. Wow, I think this is a busy pod for us, isn't it? So I'd like to welcome Jamie Lane and PC Hamana to the pod. How are you both? Starting with you, Jamie.
I'm doing very well. I'm really sad I'm not going to be out in London for the conference this week, but if I win a shorty, please all take a shot on my behalf.
We don't need an excuse for that, Jamie.
Well, I don't know if Sarah's going to the shorties. I could collect it for you. I'd happily get on stage for you, Jamie, if you want.
I think my boss is going, Rohit, which is funny because the last time I won, my old boss, Demi, accepted it for me. So that's always a great, you come up to review and they're like, well, what did you do last year? And I'm like, well, you did accept a shorty on my behalf. So that's pretty good. A pretty good one. Yeah.
Good work, Jamie. And we know Rohit's a big fan of the pod, so he's definitely listening right now as well to that. Great. Perfect.
100%.
PC, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing absolutely amazing. And I too will not be there to collect any shorties, and I will not be traveling to London for the short-term show. So that's a short-term thing. So that's too bad.
Yeah.
But luckily I get to be with you. So that's an amazing opportunity in its own right.
There you go. Well, look, guys, I know you don't really need to be introduced to the audience that we have here, but let's do it anyway. So PC, tell us a bit about yourself, and then Jamie will go to you.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm the founder and CEO of a software company called Hospitable.com that we refer to as a property management software. And it sounds all very complicated, but it's a lot simpler. It's basically, we help you connect to all your booking channels. We help you make that data that you have with your platform basically work for you and multiply so that you can scale your short-term rental operations. And yeah, I've been live since 2016. 5.2 billion in customer payouts. Just a small company that's growing a little bit.
Thanks, PC. And you, Jamie?
Yeah, so I'm the chief economist at AirDNA. I work with Sarah. I'm informally her BDR, help her bring her deals, but formally it's my job to try to make sense of all the data that we collect across 12 million unique and something like 16 million individual properties across Airbnb, Booking, Vrbo. And we've been collecting data since 2014, and I've been at AirDNA since 2020.
Yeah, I gotta say, Jamie is not kidding about being my BDR. I was on a call on Friday and the guy said, hey, I need to talk to you. My business partner was on a flight yesterday, sat next to a guy called Jamie, and he got a demo and he called me. He's like, dude, we need this now. Go sign up. I was like, do you even need a demo? He was like, no. Send me the contract. So Jamie's selling to people trapped on planes. That's how it really works. You get them trapped for a good 3 hours and then they have no excuse.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, they should be definitely sending you to London then, Jamie. Lots of time trapped on planes for people. Alrighty, so guys, look, we've got a very qualified panel today to talk about the manual tax of not listing on multiple channels. Sarah, tell us a little bit more about what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, sure. So I think a lot of times I was actually shocked by the data, and I know we work in the data all day, Jamie, but this is kind of on the back of a post that Jamie Lane did. Gosh, it's been almost a month now, essentially commenting on the mass disparity of money that all of these hosts and operators are missing out on by only being listed on one channel. And spoiler alert, it is a massive percentage. There's so much money that's being left on the table. And, this also ties into episodes that we've had previously, which it's not just about being on all the OTAs. These people, they're not using any kind of channel manager. They don't even have their own booking site. So you're also missing out on direct bookings. And it's a definite miss. Jamie also owns his own short-term rental and operates it in the Georgia mountains. So he has unique insight into this. And he's sort of the profile, if he wasn't in the data all day, he would be the profile of person normally that would only list probably on Airbnb because it's like, wow, this is easy. It's simple. I don't want all this complicated software. But today we're going to look at what the true cost of that is and whether or not operators can afford to only be listed on one platform. I think the answer will pretty easily be they cannot. So excited for Jamie to shock us with some of the numbers as well.
So you guys want me to get into the numbers? I'm happy to. So
Yeah. Do it.
one of the things, I'm a data guy. So when I get a new data point, it's like incredible for me. So we got this great natural experiment where Airbnb forced everyone that was on a PMS to their host-only fee structure. So essentially, what that allowed us to do for the first time was know essentially which listings were on versus off a PMS, because all of a sudden you've got these 1.5 million short-term rentals. Prior to October of last year, when they sort of made the switch over, it was like less than 5% of listings that were had the host only fee structure. And then overnight, it like went well above 30%. So we were able to tell all those listings that it switched over. And then we could sort of dig into the differences of, okay, property managers versus non-property managers, since we track all the property managers across the OTAs, and really get an interesting view of what share of the industry was not using a PMS because they were on that single fee structure. So we sort of analyzed the data, and it was honestly, it was super surprising to me to see such a high percentage in the US. It was 64% of listings were not on the PMS. And then we could also sort of look across those of like, all right, which share, because we sort of analyze every listing and which ones are on multiple channels, and see that 48% of listings were only on a single channel. So that combination, and to me, and just showed that still the vast majority of listings in the US, and this pulled the data for the UK, pulled the data for the rest of Europe, and it was really, really similar in terms of the share, that there are a large number of hosts that are leaving and a lot of opportunity on the table.
Jamie, this may be a little bit outside of the data, but why do you think there's so many hosts or operators that are reticent to list on multiple platforms and or use some kind of channel management software? What's the lie they've been told?
Yeah, and I'll say in the US, I don't think it's a lie. I think for certain markets, you can get away with being single channel because the other channels have not sort of penetrated and sort of guest booking behavior well enough. So in most urban markets in the US, Vrbo has no presence. Like no one's going to Vrbo to book a short-term rental in downtown San Francisco. Booking has yet to make a big impact on a lot of markets, especially domestic markets. So think less San Francisco and more Houston. Like there's just not a lot of presence for booking there. And then if you are an urban operator, your ability to drive direct bookings, repeat guests, is pretty limited, especially if you have a small portfolio. So I get the reason why a lot of individual operators aren't listing on multiple channels. I don't get why they're not leveraging a PMS to improve their operations and all the other things, because I do think there's a lot of sort of operational efficiencies that you get from a PMS that aren't just around being multi-channel, but there's no excuse. There's still a huge amount of bookings, even in my property, like North Georgia. I would have never thought I would be getting demand through booking.com, but some of my highest ADR bookings came through Booking. Sitting here at the beginning of 2026, over half my revenue has been generated by Vrbo. So if I was only on Airbnb, which me being sitting here in Atlanta analyzing the industry, I'd be like maybe I'll get a little bit of incremental revenue from Booking and Vrbo, but I'd be out probably half my revenue if I wasn't on multiple channels.
You alluded as well, Jamie, to some of the other operational benefits outside of just the fact of using a channel manager. This might be a good time for PC to step in and kind of tell us a little bit more from the property management software system, like what some of those benefits are. And also, if you could speak, PC, to how easy they actually are to implement or difficult if the case applies.
Yeah, that's very awkward to ask me that because I'm running one of them, so I'm going to do my best to not be a sales pitch and to be genuine and not basically too much marketing-y. So actually to be fair, when I started this business, I didn't know anything about property management software or channel manager. All I wanted was basically just send those goddamn check-in instructions because I'm tired of replacing the first name myself, which I do badly because I'm terrible. I'm a human. I make mistakes all the time. Turns out that's the number one reason why you actually would be using a property management software. It might be the messaging automation. It might be paying your cleaner. It might be just running different revenue experiments. The core reason why people are using, why hosts are using a property management software is not in its first intention distribution. There may be an opportunity later, but I think if you want to be grounded, first you're going to need to optimize the operation that you have on the one channel that's leading the way. And then you get some kind of a technological dividend that allows you to invest more into the next booking platform, the next channel. So this is basically is what we do. So the guest messaging, the operations. So you're going to need to communicate with your cleaners. You're going to need to pay them. So obviously Airbnb has plenty of baked in features. They might be convenient. They might be have their own limitation. I think a good first mission of a property management software is basically allow you to run your business logic on your booking platform data and make it work to your profit so much that you can generate ancillary income. And that's all the parts that basically is already important before having to list on another booking platform. Then you're ready to do so. And that's definitely a great moment. As Jamie was saying, you can generate a ton of other revenue, including in markets where you believe it was not thought to be particularly meaningful in terms of the other booking platform presence. I think there has also been a rationale that being listed on one is simple enough and everything is going to be adding a lot of operational complexity. The second mission when it comes to distribution of a property management software is definitely to make that like you won't even notice a thing. So we approximate the experience of one booking platform to the experience of all the booking platforms that we integrate with so that you can pilot everything to your property management software without you feeling like you've added the operational complexity. However, what you get is this kind of incremental revenue from those other bookings. As I was saying, there is this rationale basically you can list on one. The operational complexity, I think, is going wrong, is now no longer up to date. There is also the other part, which is that booking platforms are increasingly competitive. And I think that's been really the trend, I want to say the past 2 years, but it's really like every year is a step change in the competitiveness between, let's say, the red and the blues, so Airbnb and Booking.com in particular, where Booking.com is now generating about 80% in terms of volume as what Airbnb is doing. There is a World Cup in the US. It's a fantastic opportunity for Booking.com to be developing that market. I can assure you, we hear that very frequently. And so there is a big opportunity in that booking platforms now getting more competitive. That may mean better terms towards us to be listing on those platforms. And so there is also this kind of thing that you hear all the time on social media, which is that platform X no longer cares about its host. Like we are the one generating the revenue for those platforms. They don't pay attention to us. It's always about the guest. But then expand to another booking platform. And hopefully that gives you first downside protection if one platform goes down or is not performant enough in your market. Just as much, it gives a signal to those booking platforms that they need to pay attention to their own supply, to those hosts that get listed on their platform, to basically be the most performant continuously so. So I think there is a lot of change going on in this industry, including in this kind of perspective. I think the same conversation 5 years ago would have been very different, including in the US, where there was basically a leader and a minor one. And now it's really becoming, everyone is spending their marketing dollars in the United States. That is the year for some booking platforms, and they're very clear on that.
Yeah. I wonder, Jamie, was this in any of the research that you did in terms of the host cohort? So like is there a tipping point at which the number of listings that a host or an operator has under management does kind of prompt them to then get a PMS or list multi-channel? And if there isn't a tipping point, is there added benefit, I guess, for just one listing? Obviously, you've got one property, so I think you would say yes, but.
Yeah, I'll say one of the, I think, hidden benefits, or maybe it's not so hidden benefits of having a PMS is, you think about this business we're in, like hospitality is hard. Like, there are all these guest demands, there's all these operational demands. And honestly, like the platforms are not built to make hosting easy. Like they're meant to make booking easy. And so I love that there's all these PMSs that are doing everything possible, and in terms of their software, in terms of their connections, to make hosting as simple and seamless as possible. Like that is like having someone in your corner looking at all the friction in terms of running your business and trying to make it seamless. Like, I do not think Airbnb is ever going to try to do dynamic AI messaging for guests. They're never going to try to do integrations with my cleaners to make sure they get the notification as soon as I get a booking for them to accept and come to my property where I never have to interact with them unless there's a problem. Like, there's all this functionality around making hosting easy that just the platforms are never going to solve. So that's I see one of the biggest why I pay or theoretically would pay for a PMS is because of that. I don't want to leave that sort of complexity up to the OTAs to try to solve for me. Now, there's a lot of things that I think are correlated with having a PMS. Like, it's not that having a PMS is all of a sudden going to make my pricing better, but there's a much higher likelihood that I'm going to use a pricing software if I have a PMS, because then it's going to integrate and do all these things. So I don't think Hospitable does this, but I think there's others that sort of tout all these great revenue gains that you're going to get from getting a PMS. And a lot of those are from all the incremental softwares that they connect you to. And I truly believe that using a revenue management dynamic pricing software is going to increase your revenue, depending on your market, anywhere from 10 to 20%. I think using operational software is going to decrease your expense by a certain amount. And all those benefits sort of accumulate into, and you're more likely to do all those things if you've got a PMS that's going to integrate it all together and make it seamless in your life. So now, Sarah, to answer your question around that sort of step change of and when does it generally make sense for someone to have a PMS? And typically, what's fun, you look at one unit hosts, which I'm a one unit host, and it's less than or around 20%. You look at 2 to 5, it's around 21%. You look at 5 to, let's say, 20, it's a little bit higher. But it's not until you really get significantly higher that we see the percents really ramp up. And even for professionally managed and more than 21 plus unit properties, it's still not 100%. And one of the things we called out in the post was the large share of non-PMS connected property managers. It was still 8%. And that's pretty significant. And then even that for property managers, the number that were on a single channel was pretty high too. So if you think about going and hiring a property management company, their number one job is to distribute and market that property for you. And if they're not on multiple channels, and you should fire your property manager.
You heard it here first. Jamie Lane says.
PC, you obviously speak to a lot of hosts who will be having a PMS discussion for the first time, right? They're thinking about entering that space. Why do you think plenty don't and plenty are scared too?
And we sometimes meet some of those 20 plus properties whose software is piece of paper and a pen and a manual cleaning schedule and everything like that. So it does exist. And it has a life-changing effect when they onboard a software like ours. I think there is an insane amount of anxiety over the change that is perceived will bring a PMS. It doesn't help that you have what Jamie alluded to back in October, a complete change of pricing structure. For a company like ours at Hospitable, we had to explain for 3 months that basically, no, you just need to mark up. This is neutral to your guests. It's going to be neutral to your payout. But the change that occurs when you connect to a PMS is a bit that there are things that are happening that I do not expect. For a long time, I don't know if you remember, but we've been in the industry for way too long. Maybe you lost all your reviews. You could only accept instant bookings. There were some features that would not be supported. And I think for people that have been in this industry for a long time, there is this basically kind of a retinian memory of basically seeing those kind of messages and complaints. So their behavior on the platform is going to change. Then what is the leading PMS? This is literally the question that you have on every Facebook group, because there are hundreds of different property management software, and you have a feeling like you're literally betting your house on the software, and you always have case for them going wrong. There is also the part which is that on top of that, you're not buying software for today. I've never found a North American in particular that wanted to buy a software for today. They want to buy it for 2 years when they're going to have 10 times more properties. They may still be just like Jamie on just one, but I'm pretty sure that if you wanted to buy an actual software, it would look like, yeah, but it needs to be working for 2 or for 3. So you have all those kind of parameters. It's a lot of competition that all are saying the same thing. Now, the reality of it is you want to pay attention to the scale of the property manual software. For one thing, it means they fixed a lot more fringe issues that would not necessarily arise. So all the fringe cases, the integration problems that they might have. If you want to look at something that's going to be easy to use to get started, the reality is that there quite a question as to the implementation, the timing that it takes to be onboarding. Again, I'm sorry I represent one of them, but there are a few competitors, just like Hospitable, that offer a free trial where you can actually get set up yourself and you can see the pixels before you have a talk with a salesperson. And I find that basically a better way to be using software, especially to discovering what the hell is all the fuss about on the property manual software. So those are something that I kind of look at. Now you asked me to play a bit against my own field here, but I do find that more and more, and this industry is going to have to go towards what we call the self-managers, rather than the small hosts. Please ban this. Self-managers that are just like Jamie, 1, 2 properties that are looking to make their data work for themselves. I think the right time to be onboarding a PMS is when you have a conversation with your significant other about why you're going to be responding to that Airbnb guest. We are at the dinner table. I would like you to be present and give me some attention. That actually is a good trigger. But then, and they don't often feel heard or seen in that particular industry because you hear a lot about property management, owner statements, and a lot of bells and whistles. So they're adding a lot of complexity and don't talk to me. So for our company, we're really focused on the self-managers because I was one and I burnt out and a lot of hosting fatigue about having the back and forth and the back-to-back reservations. So I need to find a way to stop this, created the software so that other people get to not burn out. And I think that basically is where there is a very meaningful amount of growth in this industry. That is currently unaddressed, but there's a lot of work to do, especially on the education about what it means, what's the reality of it. I think there is a lot of fear and distrust by the software industry because it takes one person to have one bad experience with one other software and basically gets amplified to oblivion. And yeah, this industry doesn't have a particularly good reputation on that. So especially over the years, that's been running a bit too doom and gloom, I guess. but the reality is that there was a lot of progress, there was a lot of work, there was a lot of growth, also from the back on booking platforms and from property management software alike. I think to really level the playing field for everybody. So one such initiative that we've done at Hospitable is basically, we thought that basically it's too difficult to have higher penetration as an industry if we basically still make it about the price. So we've released at the beginning of the month of April, on the 1st of April, our new plan, which is the Essentials plan, which is a less than free plan. We will not charge you any recurring fee. We believe that if the promise of a property management software is to help you generate more revenue, so we're going to show you that, and we're going to take a fee out of the extra revenue that you get, so it can be sustainable. It's uncapped. Because as Jamie said, there is still a very large number of properties managed by property management that are not yet connected to property management software. So we need the message to be heard loud and clear. It doesn't have to be breaking the bank. It's only net positive to be using a property management software. That makes it particularly valuable if you're using a technological solution like an iCal, which was a technology from I want to say the 80s, but I'm probably aging now. Absolutely not appropriate for real-time synchronization of data. So it's horrendous to have billions of dollars revolving around iCals that refresh every 4 or 5 hours. So that's a great way to have real-time syncing. And then all the add-ons that basically you would expect from property management software without sticker price. So you can pay your own team, you can have guest messaging, you can have that. And I think it's a kind of signal that this industry needs to be sending to actually be able to unlock a ton of value for hosts and for the industry. Right now, it's very easy for a booking platform to disregard the professional hosts that are connected to property management software, because even though that's significant on the upper end, it's not so much on the lower side. I want to do a 51% attack on booking platform, just in the same way that it's on crypto, to force the behavior to change to reinforce the competitiveness between booking platforms that ultimately, I believe, will be a net positive on all hosts. Basically, take the booking where the platform that's working their ass off is going to be working with the most for you, rather than take it in the one where you're the most captive, that is selling you an idea of a product that's easier, but might not be in reality when you confront it to the reality of your own business and its logic.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, especially that last one. I was going to say that I felt that the most obvious barrier to getting a PMS for a self-managed host is the price, is that idea that you're investing. I wondered if you'd seen any, and it's interesting, your initiative. I wonder if you'd seen any difference between that behavior in Europe versus the US, because I definitely see it as being that Sarah and I often talk about this, but the European host being more cautious potentially in where they spend their dollars, or euros, should I say.
I mean, that's the rule of the business, is basically selling to Americans is fantastic. It's basically within an hour, you can get a business card in. Try to sell to a European is going to be terms of service, give me all the credit statement. I want to have 3 calls, etc. There's a lot more friction. So first of all, to go back, there is something a bit odd about the kind of perception of price. I think it has a lot to do because it's money that simply is leaving your wallet. Yeah, you're using your credit card and it's money leaving your bank account. When you generate 3,000 euros a month in bookings, you have 500 that's going to booking platforms, not 30. Okay, so you have to basically edge that and be honest about the real numbers. If you don't use a property management software, sure, you may not pay 30 or 70 or whatever is the price of the property management software, but you sure as hell are still going to be paying those 500s. And in terms of perception, yeah, I do believe that's been historically the case. I think it's really cultural, is the willingness to pay and the kind of perception of risk, especially. So I think that's why I'm a bit surprised to hear from Jamie that the numbers were actually quite the same across the US, and I think you were mentioning the UK, and I'm curious about the penetration rate of property management software in Germany, for example. I do believe it might be a little bit lower, but I think there is a lot to that. And when you do that, you actually end up being more captive from the leading booking platform, and that's not just a great service to the industry.
Yeah, and I've got a fun stat on Germany, but before that, I did want to qualify my statement around fire your PMS if they're not on multiple channels, in that I want to add in direct booking as a channel. So if your property management company is driving more than 80% direct bookings, like, they're fine just being on one channel. And you should send them a gift basket for doing such a great job of driving direct bookings to their listings. So huge caveat there. If they're doing amazing on direct bookings, maybe you're fine with just being on one channel. All right. So one of the stats I recently pulled on Germany, though, was such a high share of German hosts are on one channel, but that channel's not Airbnb. So booking.com just like dominates in Germany. And so it's over 30% of listings in Germany are not on Airbnb. So that's a pretty interesting stat in terms of, and Poland's that way as well, Hungary, so very booking heavy. And there it's maybe trying to convince the host that they need to be on multiple channels and be more attractive to the American or UK guests that might be more likely to book on Airbnb than on Booking.
If I may jump in on that, not just the idea of being on the channels to get your UK cousins. We're still in the continental European, not in the European Union, but we're still there continentally, if not politically. But the other thing is maybe an expectation of service as well that comes with. So when you go to a European short-term rental, often you'll find that there is nothing. There's not even salt, pepper, and olive oil, which is. And we've all experienced that. And so as the industry matures and you level up your game, that's part of the expectation, right? That and yes, if you are just maybe getting your bookings from a traditional booking provider that's always got them for you, and it's people who travel in their car with their own stuff, there's that level of expectation. But there's a wider guest out there that you probably want to capture. PC, I wonder if that education is something that you find yourselves doing as a company, or if you don't, have you thought about it?
I think I have to give huge kudos to the support team or in the industry in general whenever they work, especially on those that are I won't say casual hosts or hobbyists and are maybe discovering the platform. I think there was something on our side that has changed based on on the host-only fee that we need to educate that no, Airbnb is not a $100 billion company because it charges a 3% processing fee. It's actually, there is a very different costing structure. You may not see it, but that's part of the product of Airbnb is the pricing opacity. It's also really like, so it's a bit difficult, but we have plenty of stories, obviously, of hosts that are asking to provide the sheets, or they can rent it for you. That you could think that a short-term rental is basically about offering a bed, but actually you need to bring your own sheets. Or that host, which I thought was a bit extreme, it had to be Dutch, but basically was charging electricity consumption during the stay. And so, and it's probably is more common than you think. So there is a lot to do, and I think to reframe it basically on understandable terms, this is a business. You are an entrepreneur when you host on whatever booking platform. You market it on those booking platforms. You have every right, and it's well understood by the booking platform themselves to list elsewhere, to do what you want on your business. You have full accountability for it, which is great and amazing, but you get to basically care for your customer. And this is really a hardcore part. Do the extra, increase your fees. It's not a race to the bottom. Price better. When you price twice more, you can invest twice more into your customer. You can make them twice happier. You can have better amenities. You can have a better service. You can have a cleaner place. And that basically pays off into big investment. Like, I'm feeling that is something that needs to be earned, maybe by my mom, to not discreet. But basically, you really want to double down on the value that you deliver your customer. And the pricing is the thing that helps you do that. And I think a lot of times you have value-based pricing, that's cost-based pricing, I want to say, that's applicable in Europe. Like, I want to have just as much to be paying for whatever cost I have. And it's not the right approach. This is a business. No one is going to blame you for making a margin, for making money. This is the job. Do it, embrace it. And you will be more sustainable. You will generate greater value for yourself and immensely more value to your guests. No worries, this is not going to be a pure extractive mode. You're going to invest more because you have your guests paying more as well. It's kind of a moral obligation, which I think is really well understood on that part of the Atlantic, that basically if you're going to charge more, you're going to have to deliver more. And I think the people that do are doing a great job there. But yeah, this all the anecdotes that I've shared were basically gives a bad vibe on hosts that are probably just getting started or basically need to have a bit of a pep talk to understand the industry that they're in. It's hospitality.
Sarah?
I was going to challenge our audience to something, which is, I think we've heard a lot of the benefits of automation and making things ultimately easier, even though maybe the setup will take you a little bit of time, but it sounds like it's worth it. So my challenge to our audience members who are maybe thinking, well, I still don't know, sounds like a lot of work, I'm not convinced, I would challenge them to automate one thing in their business over the next week. So think about this week. What's one thing you can automate? Is that the check-ins? Is that having an email that goes out that's linked with the booking platform? What does that look like? If you automate one thing, how does that change kind of your day-to-day and your bottom line? And then have a think and extrapolate that to being able to automate, obviously not everything in your business, but a lot of these kind of time-consuming, tedious tasks. So that's my challenge to the audience who isn't maybe quite convinced.
Love that. Okay, love that. Good challenge. Who's going to take it? Thanks so much, guys, for hanging out with us today. This has been awesome. And to everyone at home, if you've enjoyed today's show, please hit like, share, subscribe in all the usual social channels. PC, Jamie, we're not going to see you in London, but I guess that gives you even more time to come back on as guests again. So let's think about getting you on. Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, good luck on stage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, gang. See you soon. Bye.